Today I'm going to be introducing you to a project that we're going to be starting having to do with proportions around the world. We will begin to use proportions to travel the world in math class. You are a high-paid top executive at a leading international accounting firm. There's a business trip overseas that you and your team have been asked to go on to share your company's ideas to future clients. While you're overseas, you will visit 4 to 5 countries depending on how much time you have. But don't worry, this will not be a work-only trip because all work and no play makes for a boring day. You will be required to participate in various cultural activities each day, as well as eating out 3 meals. This will not be easy though, because you'll have to record accurate daily logs of all the money that you spend. On to South America. Welcome to South America. Countries that you might be exploring in South America might be Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Peru, or many others. You might find yourself on a Rio de Janeiro helicopter tour, at an Amazon survival class, or skiing in Patagonia. The main thing that we're going to be talking about during this project is currency. Currency refers to money in circulation in any form. In the United States, our currency is the US dollar. Examples of other currency around the world include euros, yen, francs, guilders, and many more. Some countries even share a currency. For example, Italy and France both use the euro. Next stop is Asia. Countries that you might visit here could be China, Japan, Cambodia, Turkey, India, and of course many others. You might be eating rice, miso soup, many different types of seafoods, red curries, and many other yummy foods. You might even find yourself eating miso soup for breakfast. We'll be exploring the populations of different countries throughout the world using scale maps of regions around the world. As you can see in these examples, the map on the left is of France. It looks like the geographical map of France. However, what's really represented in this map is its population. This map of Japan looks somewhat like an actual geographical map of Japan would look like, but it really represents Japan's population. France has about 65 million people in it. Japan has about 128 million people in it, but both of them fit on a piece of graph paper. Now let's check out Africa. Some countries that you might want to visit in Africa are Egypt, Algeria, Kenya, Tanzania, maybe even South Africa. You might find yourself visiting the pyramids, the Cape of Good Hope, going on a safari, seeing Mount Kilimanjaro, or maybe even running with a marathon runner. Using proportions, we're going to exchange money from one country to another. As you know, proportions can compare one currency to another. For example, 1 US dollar would represent 78 hundredths of a euro. We could set up a ratio to compare the two quantities, and say I went shopping and bought something for 5 and 44 hundredths of a euro. I want to know how many US dollars I would spend. That's where my proportion comes in. I can write the variable x for the amount of US dollars and solve the proportion. This is the fun stuff. On to Europe. Some countries you might visit in Europe might be Italy, France, England, Spain, Portugal, Denmark, and Switzerland. And there are a lot of different things to do in these countries. You might go for an afternoon tea, hike the Swiss Alps, sample chocolate at a French bakery, or even freshly made pasta in Italy. Mr. Cuddle says, "Would you like some tea and crumpets, sir?" We'll also be exploring religions, languages, literacy, and age structures through percentages. As you can see in this map, the literacy rates across the world are very different. The United States and Canada are marked in dark blue. That represents that over 97% of the United States and Canada can read or write. But as you can see, in this section of the world where you see the dark red, less than 50% of those countries can read or write. My hope is that you learn more about these countries through math and can experience a little bit of what the world has to offer. But we can't forget about Australia. Australia is a continent, but it's also a country. They have their own culture, different from any other place in the world. You might visit the Great Barrier Reef, the Sydney Opera House, maybe even pick up an accent. During this project, you'll be required to choose the top 3 countries around the world that interest you most. You'll learn interesting things about that country and solve a lot of proportions to learn even more about your country. You're going to present your information in a creative way and visit other countries by exchanging your currency for that of your classmates. So now what? Your homework tonight actually is to list the top 3 countries that interest you in working on this math project. And then do some quick research online to determine those countries' forms of currency. So, if your top choice was Italy, you would not only write Italy, but you would write euro. So you need 2 things for each country. You need the country name and the form of currency. You're going to write these things down on a separate piece of paper and be ready to hand them in at the beginning of class tomorrow. That's the end of the trip. We're going back to Massachusetts. Bon voyage!